I don't answer. I can't stop the way from land. Can't choose the cards I'm handed. But I decide what stays inside me and what I leave abandoned. I don't choose the pressure. I choose how I respond. I don't control the weather. I decide how long I stand in the storm. I don't need the road to get me. I let myself in the world. Impress me anyway. I do not worry. I do. I stop reacting to every feeling. Stop giving power to passing thoughts. Some battles don't need resistance. Some wins come from knowing when not to talk. Ooh, silence taught me more than shouting. It's to say what pride couldn't. I don't chase peace in perfect moments. I build it wherever I put. I can't stop the way from landing. Can't rewrite what's already gone, but I decide what gets my energy and what I carry on. I don't choose the pressure. I, I choose how I respond. I don't control the weather. I decide how long I stand in the storm. I don't need the road to bend for me. I bend myself alone. I could test me anyway. I choose how I respond.
All right. Good morning once again. It's 11:05, so we're just going to start. Um, Good morning, everyone, once again. I'm super excited to be here today. How are we doing? Can we type it in the chat how we are doing this morning? I'm speaking from Lagos, Nigeria. I want you to also drop your city and your country in the chat section. Let me know where you're joining from and let me know how you're feeling this morning. I'm excited to be here. Like I said, I'm Messi and I'll be your moderator today. So type it in the chat, your city and your country, how you're feeling this morning. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to have you all for today's session before. And I'm grateful for how far we've come in this bootcamp. And I'm sure you are also grateful. So I'm not seeing anybody's chat. Let me check. Okay, Habimont is joining from Lagos, Nigeria. Please confirm I'm very audible also. Confirm you can hear me clearly. Oh, thank you. So, good morning, Temidoluwa. Yeah, please, I want to see more of your engagement in the chats. Tell me how you're feeling and your city and your country. You have, thank you. I pray I can finish the class today. Yes, you have to finish it. You have to finish the class today. Go everywhere. So please let's drop in the chat session how we are feeling this morning. How are you feeling? Where are you joining from? What city? What country? Please let's do that as quick as possible so we can get to catch up before we start the session. And while we're doing that, please let's invite every other person that needs to be on this call. Let's drop it in our WhatsApp group chat that the session has started and nobody should miss out from this. Okay, Bahilo is joining from Ethiopia. Amazing. How are you feeling this morning? How has it been so far? How has it been? How has the boot camp been so far? We started January 31st and we are into week 4. How has it been for you? Just give me one word that describes how the boot camp has been for you so far. And if you've actually been joining from week 1, I want you to type week 4 streak. If you've been joining consistently, and you've not missed any session, I want you to type it in the chat section, week 4 straight, because you actually deserve to be celebrated. If you've not missed any sessions, yeah, please just type it. First time here, interesting topic, looking forward to the session. Oh, welcome, Num Bandla, welcome. All right, I'm still hoping we keep the chats. Week 4 streak. Oh, nice, Amy. Nice. Congratulations. Well done. But Amy is in the team. Oh, I want the participants that have been joining so far consistently to actually type week 4 streak. If you've been joining for the past 4 weeks and you are here today, I want you to type week 4 streak. Okay, Tojo is from Kebbi State, Nigeria. Amazing. All right, so I'll keep checking the chat for our response. So let's get right into today's session. Can we confirm if you can see my screen? Please confirm you can
Yes, you can see your screen.
All right, so you made it here, and like I said, I'm excited to welcome you all again into Tech for Good community and into ESG 2.0 Bootcamp. It's been amazing so far, and today is just going to be better because it can only get better. So I want you to type in the chat what you have learned so far. I want you to type it in the chat, what you've learned so far in the past 3-week sessions. I know last week's session was on data. We've also covered energy and education. We've covered education. So I want you to type into the chat what you've learned so far, what has really been your highlight so far from the various sessions we've had. Just type it there in the session. I'm going to check it. So today it's going to be a 2-hour session and we're going to end by 1 p.m. And we'll just be going right into the agenda. Welcome and introduction. What is Tech for Good Africa? I'm sure by now you know what Tech for Good Africa is. And just a quick one, before I bring in our first speaker, I want to believe she's on the call already, but before I bring her on board, I want us to do something really quick. If you are here and you've not followed us on our social media, you are very wrong. So I want Tammy, please could you help me drop LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok in the chat section? So I want us to just take 1 minute and follow Tech for Good Africa on all our socials right now. Please do that. It's not okay for you to be in this community and you've not followed us. So that's one of the things. Secondly, I want to quickly make few announcements. The first is that there will be an attendance form towards the end of the session. So make sure you wait till the end so you can fill the attendance form. Also, the feedback form, please guys, we need to fill it. In fact, I could just decide to start using the feedback form as our attendance because I've noticed we are not filling the feedback form. And on the feedback form, there is a place where you're meant to upload your professional shots. So that will be used for the bootcamp participants collage. So imagine if you're not in that, if you're not filling the feedback form and we don't have your professional shots, you didn't attend this boot camp invariably. So please ensure you fill the feedback form for week 4 session. Ensure you fill it. And I'll also be making the last announcement I want to make before I call in the first speaker is about our upcoming program. We have an upcoming program happening here in Lagos, Nigeria, called the Project Mixer. So we're going to be sharing more information about it. But if you are in Lagos, Nigeria, and you have been wondering how ESG and project management can be incorporated together, then you shouldn't miss the Project Mixer. It's a program we collaborated with PM Tribe, the Project Managers Tribe, to organize together in March. And Timmy will drop more information about it. But if you're in Lagos, Nigeria, I want you to have it in mind to attend. I don't know if Obed is on the call, because I recall yesterday during the TS session, you were asking about how projects management can also incorporate ESG. So this is actually for you, right? And let's also share with everyone we think this program would benefit. So we'll share more about the program in our WhatsApp group and via emails. All right, so I just want to go right into inviting our first speaker. We still need more people on the call, so please keep writing it in the chats on your WhatsApp. Keep telling people to join because the session is about to start right now, for real, for real. So I'm inviting our first speaker. Let me just read about. I want to believe Freda is on the call. Okay. So I'll just go ahead to read about. So Freda Pam Moyambo is a founder and STEM career ambassador. She's an award-winning STEM career ambassador, African footballer, and the founder of Ulu Consulting Limited. He's on a mission to help organizations, professionals, entrepreneurs enhance Africa's growth efforts through technological solutions. She's trained as an electrical engineer and strategic program and project management expert. She has 20 years of international experience in Australia, UK, and Africa. She has a background in empathetic leadership, coaching, and successful managing multi-million-dollar public and privately financed capital programs and donor-funded international development projects. She has also co-authored 2 internationally published books, The Science of Spice and Black Food, and she's an advocate for equality in energy access, closing the gender gap in agriculture, and preserving African foodways. Wow. So I want you all to invite Freda with your emoji, like sounding, clapping, excitement, everything emoji. I've not seen any clap. I won't call her in without our emoji. I'm not seeing any of our emoji. I want you to a welcome through our emoji. Are people really on this call? Or am I the only one? I'm not seeing any emoji. Or is it just my screen? I'm not seeing any emoji. I'm not seeing any emoji. Are we here on the call? Are there people on this call? Okay, I can see emoji, I can see clapping emoji and love emoji. Please let's send in more emojis, or else I'm not inviting further. Let's send in her emojis. Let's invite her. Let's welcome her with our emojis. All right. So while we are doing that, I want to confirm, Freda, are you good to go? Are you on this call? Hi, Freda, are you on the call? Just let me confirm if she's on the call. Um, Just a minute, please. Okay, so I'm not sure Freda is on the call. I think I just want to confirm if I should invite the second speaker so we don't waste time. I just want to confirm, please. Can we hear me? Can I go ahead to invite the second speaker?
Yes, please.
All right. Tammy, please let me reach out to Freda and just let her know that she'll be coming in as the second speaker. So let me go ahead to read the bow for Ikena. So I'm sure Ikena is already on the call. And thank you for being on the call. So I'm just going to read your bio. Ikena Abanono is a sustainability and circular economy specialist. Is the head of operations at Switch Recycling Innovations. He leads operational strategies that advance responsible waste management, resource efficiency, and scalable recycling system across emerging markets. With deep expertise in extended producer responsibility framework, Ikena works with producers, regulators, and environmental stakeholders to design and implement compliance systems that drive measurable and environmental economic impact. He is the author of the EPR Compliance Playbook, a practical guide that supports organizations in navigating regulatory obligations while embedding circular principles into their operations. As a speaker, he delivers actionable insight on circular economy models, sustainability-driven operations, EPR implementation, and the future of responsible production. His sessions combine policy understanding with real-world operational experience, equipping audiences with practical tools to transition from linear to circular systems. So together, let's welcome Ikena to this call with our favorite emoji, with our claps, with our love. Let's welcome Ikena. Ikena, you have 30 minutes for this presentation. That means by 11:51, we should be wrapping up with your presentation. All right, over to you. If you are here and you can hear me, please unmute and you can proceed. Hey, can I hear you?
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Morning. Thank you.
Yeah, Messi, I don't know if I'm audible enough. You can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. You're audible.
All right, great. First of all, I'm very excited to be here this morning. Yeah, it's morning here in Nigeria. So I'm actually very, very excited to be here this morning. And I want to congratulate every one of us that has made it up to this point. This is the 4th week of the boot tech, and it takes commitment, consistency to still be here. And I want to appreciate every one of us for that. Thank you so much for having me, Mercy. I want to assure us that at the end of this session, we'll be able to understand how ESG has evolved, actually, how it has evolved, and we'll be able to see technology, how it has also enabled real impactful ESG outcomes. And most importantly, we'll be able to make an impact in our world. You know, that's actually where this whole thing comes, together. Today, we'll be looking at the human-centered ESG systems, designing inclusive innovations for measurable impacts. So some of us might wonder, human-centered design, human-centered ESG system. Okay, so, well, my work experience across the recycling industry, circular economic systems, and ESG advisory has actually shown me one thing. It has made me to understand that sustainability does not fail because people lack ideas. It actually fails because we design systems or solutions that people cannot use. And that's why we're here today. That's why we're here today. Today we're not going to teach ESG. We're not really going to start telling us what ESG is and all that, but we're actually here to change how we think about ESG. Yeah, so ESG has been conceived, or let me use the word wrongly conceived, as reporting, compliance. When we hear ESG, the next thing that comes to our mind is reporting, compliance, and all that. Messi, you help me move the slide, just, yeah. Move the slide. Yeah, Messi, can you hear me? Thank
Yes,
you.
I can hear you. Confirm if my slide has moved.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I said that today we are going to not just talk about ESG, but then try to see how we change our thinking about it, how we perceive it. Why are we having this conversation? Why are we here today? We're actually here today to see and understand that ESG is not a report. ESG is not about compliance. ESG is actually a system. For years, ESG has lived in reports, policies, frameworks. You will agree with it. So, excuse me. Okay. So ESG has three majority stages. Yeah, so we look at this, we said ESG is not a report, execution over policy, and then ESG has moved from compliance to intelligence and to impact. A recycling company that is tracking volumes, for example, a recycling company, I'm going to use recycling. I'm actually a field person, operations. I've got a lot of experience in the recycling field, so don't mind me when I go towards that direction. So a recycling, company that is tracking volumes, for example, it's actually at the compliance stage. You're trying to get a report to perhaps present to the government or the regulators and all that. So, but a company that is using dashboard, for example, to optimize routes, logistics, and all that is actually at the intelligence stage. So ESG has moved away from reporting. It has moved away from compliance. We're talking about impact. Impact. We're talking about impact. Yeah, thank you so much. So when you talk about ESG, you're talking about impact. So organizations today, that measures sustainability in terms of profit driving, risk management engine, the impacts that they make are actually the real drivers, the real people that actually, have ESG policies and all that. So let me look at, for example, we say that ESG, as we said, is not determined by our reports. It is determined by the system architecture, the system we design, what we are able to design. That is what actually ESG is all about. Now, ESG has actually evolved, as we said. So why did ESG evolve? It has moved from the old ESG, which centers on compliance and reporting, to the new ESG, which is talking about measurable impact engine. Next slide, please, Messi. So we said ESG has actually shifted from, compliance to accountability. It has moved from compliance to accountability. It has actually moved from reporting to measuring impact. It has moved from policies, to systems that work. It has moved from intentions to infrastructure. Of course, today when we talk about ESG, organizations that want to attract investors will not just want to comply, to policies, but what? They want to have verifiable impact. They want to have projects that will attract investors, projects that will attract, ESG investment funds. And that's what we are talking about. There are drivers, there are drivers of ESG. Talk about data today. There are a lot of organizations that, rely on digital platforms, which they use in tracking environmental activity in time. Landfills can no longer be monitored by just, having heap of, waste. But now we can actually monitor, maintain emissions, monitor carbon emissions with technology. And then this technology are verified, these outcomes are actually verified, the data are verifiable. And yes, of course, most importantly, our consumers, customers, they are more interested in verifiable data claims. I'll give you an example. In the past, we have a lot of organizations in the recycling industry that will come up and say, oh, we're able to collect 1,000 tons of plastic waste in a month. It's easy to put that information out there. But today it's actually difficult because there are data, there are tools everywhere. It's data that is actually verifiable. And that is what ESG is. It's about system, it's about design. It's not just about coming up to say, oh, I've done this, I've been able to save this amount of carbon or do this. No, but then the data you have, the information you have, the impact that you're actually making. So that's actually what ESG is all about. Technology has actually removed the hiding place of many organizations. ESG is no longer optional, but is now visible. It's something that you don't just talk, it's visible. Thank you. So why ESG must evolve? So let's go to the next slide. Move to the next slide. Okay, the problem with traditional ESG. All right, so now the old ESG, it's about metrics, report numbers, but not about impact. It's about reporting, not really about verification. It's about strategy without, inclusion, without community input. It's about innovation without inclusion. That is the problem with traditional ESG. Well, what is the real problem today? The real problem is that most sustainability projects fail because they are designed for reports. Some of them are designed for investors, and then some of them are designed for PR. They are not designed for the people. Any EPR or sustainability project that is not designed for the people will definitely fail. So the question is, what is the point? Designing, a system that the people cannot use. That's the real purpose of today's discussion. That is why we're talking about the human-centered ESG. The human-centered ESG. ESG that is actually, built around the people, not about reports. Today, we're talking about designing environmental and social systems around real people, not reports. Let me give you an example. When we started street recycling, at the point we had a board meeting because the collection was bad. Okay, so And the management felt that, okay, we actually have about 21 branches across the country, which I manage. So then we felt that the branches are actually not performing. And that was the problem that was actually seen, that was the problem that was perceived. But the problem was the system. The problem was the design. The problem was the collection strategy. We built a system initially, without considering that the formal collector in the street might not have an Android phone. Okay, so because we use the way our collection was, the way it is that we build an application which can be used for waste collection. And that application, you have an Android phone, so you download on Play Store or on iOS, that. So you download, and then when you have your waste, you initiate a pickup for the company to come pick. But two things happened. Apart from the fact that the performance was low, the customers were very dissatisfied. And then we now understood that we didn't really build the system around people. The people that we want to collect this waste from, many of them don't even have a phone. In fact, a lot of them don't even have an Android phone to actually go to the app and what happened? Then we went back to redesign and considered, included the people, and that was when we got it right. So the human-centered ESG is about designing processes, designing systems, environmental and social systems around people. It's not just about reports. What it does is that, it helps us in designing our thinking. It helps us in community insight to understand the behavior of the people that are going to use this platform. We understand the technology that should be brought in, and also governance. It answers the question of who benefits, who participates, and who also owns, the system. It is about innovation with inclusion. It's about reporting with verification. It's about metrics with impact, and it's also about strategy with community input. For you to be able to actually design an ESG system that will work, we need to understand the ESG intelligence stack. The next slide, please. Okay, the real problem. Yeah, so we looked at it. Most sustainability projects fail because they are designed for reports, investors, and PR. We've talked about this. So, and that's actually the real problem. They are not people focused. They are not designed for the people. Next slide. Okay, great. So we've talked about the human-centered ESG, and we said that the system must be built around people, not the reports. We must integrate community needs. We understand the people that will use the platforms and also make it very practical. We need to know who is benefiting from it. We need to know who is participating from it. And we also need to know who actually owns the system. Now, we're saying that before you can actually be able to design an ESG system that will work, you need to understand the ESG intelligence stack. The ESG intelligence stack is a process that starts with data capture, verification, insight, decision, and then impact. Next slide. Okay, so the ESG intelligence stack, like I said, is a system that we must understand in order to design an ESG system that will work. Okay, so we said data capture, of course, community sourced input designed for accuracy and context. We must get our information working with the community, the environment. After we've gotten the data, They must be verifiable, be verifiable and must have analytical insights to actually translate towards signals into actionable recommendations. We must also, excuse me, 1 minute, please. Sorry, I can't really see this really. Okay. Okay, so the ESG intelligence stack, like I said earlier, are the processes or the system that we must actually understand before we can design a successful ESG that will work in any organization or any place such as data must be verified. Yeah, then we have the tools for verifying. Oh, sorry, please. Sorry, I'm having a little. Okay, so, and we should be able to analyze this information for decision making and then impact. The next slide. Okay, so apart from the intelligence stack, we also look at design thinking framework for ESG. If you're designing an ESG system, first of all, we need to empathize. So empathize, we need to gather qualitative and data from users, understand what the problem is. Basically, we need to understand what the problem is, and of course, we can look at live experiences and all that, which I've given an example of, my workplace where we're able to transform our performance by first understanding, the customer behavior, understanding what exactly the problem is. We translated this into clear problem statements after understanding the problem, transferring to clear problem statements. And after that, we co-create multiple local solutions. Now, the idea is to have a lot of solutions on ground, and we try to, do what is called rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping is where you have an idea and you start small, but you go straight into it. You test it. You prototype. You test it without spending so much. Okay, so what we did in our case is that having like 21 branches across the country, we tested our system, our plan with one branch, so that even if we fail, if we're not going to lose much, it won't cost much. So we tested with one branch, and then by the time it was successful, we now replicate in other branches. And after you've done that, you've tested it and you've seen that it is going to work, then you can now scale. So that's actually, the design thinking framework for ESG. You empathize first to understand what the problem is, perceive, then you translate it into clear problem statement. Then you brainstorm, you create multiple local solutions. It is very important to observe the word low cost solutions. Many organizations fail today because they perceive a solution and spend huge money into it, and eventually it fails. They put in so much because they are so confident of their solution, and eventually it fails. So that is why we need to understand the design, thinking framework of ESG. You start with rapid prototyping. You fail small if you have to fail, and then you lose little if you have to lose. But then if it is successful, you can now scale up. You can now test and then scale. ESG fails when we skip empathy and testing. ESG is not about you. It's about the people. It's not about us. It's about the people we are designing it for. If they cannot use it, then there is no point. If they cannot use it, then if your ESG solution, excludes the community, it will definitely fail. If it excludes the people, it will definitely fail. That's the truth. Just like designing a system without actually consulting the people, without actually understanding the people that will use it, consulting them. And you agree with me that is where the problem is. And someone might think, okay, inclusion. So do I have to engage the whole community, do charity and all that? No. Inclusion is not about charity. It is just an engineering strategy. It's not a system that you must put in place, and it saves a lot of cost. It saves a lot of cost. The next slide. Oh, great. Inclusive innovation model. Excuse me. Inclusive innovation model. Okay, so we've actually talked about this. This is where we co-create. I mentioned here that innovation or inclusion is actually not charity, and innovation that does not carry the people along will definitely fail. Any technology, any system you put in place without actually bringing the people, it will fail. We designed users, not for them. Shared idea, this reduces friction and also increases opt-in. When we first built an app for switch recycling, what happened was a lot of people could not use it. You understand? They could not use it. So we now discovered that it's not about having an app. Oh, okay, so there's an app, so you can actually just log in, requests for your pickup, conclude a particular transaction, and all that. But what the people want is comfort. They want to log in and be able to start a transaction and end it. They want to log in and be able to start and finish. And this is what a sustainability specialist, someone that is designing an ESG platform, should have in mind. You need to, how am I going to design this in a way that, I carry the people along? It's community based, it's human based, it's user friendly. So these are the things you should have in our mind. Local ownership, transfer operational control and revenue streams to local stakeholders. Yeah, exactly. So if your platform is not going to be economical, if your system is not economical, of course, it will not be accepted. That's the truth. So accessible incentives, make benefits tangible, and immediate. Okay, so let me give an example here. In the waste collection industry, we have people who call them the households. So they generate waste, and then they gather this waste, and then they come to sell the waste. I bet you, if they are going to sell the waste, they're going to get something that is actually, a good incentive or economically good for them. You might preach from now to tomorrow, anytime, and you find out that you won't be able to achieve your aim. So you see, the incentive must be clear. The economical value, but something that will really, encourage users to participate. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, rapid prototyping. Rapid prototyping. So one of the things that I'm going to take home today is that it is better to build, a minimal user-tested version or system that demonstrates core functionality. Don't wait for 5 years. You build the system and test it. 5 weeks, few days, test small, that rapid prototyping. You test your system small, design a system that you can actually test small. When you win, you can now scale. Then you adjust. When you test it, you measure adoption, measure the pain points. Yeah, of course. When we do adoption, we have to find out what the challenge is, why is it not being used, why. So we notice that there are some issues that we need to adjust, some functionalities and the app that we need to actually correct, put together, and then at the end of the day, I can bet you that right now we have over 20,000 users for an application that is about a year old. So that's the beauty of it. So then when you've gotten it right, you can now scale up. So stop building 5 years plan, start with 5 week pilots, and speed actually enables. So that's the lesson here. The next slide. The next slide, please. Okay, so how do we solve this system from all this? Diagnosis, scale, and adoption. And then I would want to end by telling us that ESG like infrastructure report. If your ESG design cannot scale, if it cannot be measured, if people cannot use it, then it's not ESG impact. It's not really a great design. It's not really an impact. Let's build the solutions together. Thank you. I believe that we've gotten, so let's say this is 11:51. I don't want to exceed, I don't want to exceed my time, but I believe we've been able to do justice to this. Thank you so much for the time. That's it. So hello, Mercy, are you there? Thank you, Obed, so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, Semilua, would you be willing to give some insight on breaking into recycling sometime? Of course. Very well. It's a space that is untapped, a space that a lot of knowledge gap, and I'll be willing to share. I'll be here. Thank you.
Mr. Ikenna, good morning. Just want to say a very big thank you. I'm sure Messi has had some internet glitch, which is why we need to put ESG as an infrastructure, because that would also help to make sure that we have proper internet. I just want to say thank you for sharing your thoughts
You're
um
right.
this morning. I think if we put ESG into everything, internet will also be working, because then maybe the powers will not be coming
Of
off the
course.
towers and things like that. So just wanted to put that in there. But thanks so much, sir. Um I truly
Thank you.
enjoyed that class. Even as a ESG practitioner and specialist myself, it was good to hear another person that has the mindset of seeing ESG as a infrastructure and a system, not just a report. So thank you so much. Messi, I don't know if you're back now, so I can hand you back over
Yes.
to you. Okay, okay.
Okay, can
Thank
we
you,
hear
Mr.
me now?
Ikena.
So
Yes, we can
sad.
hear you.
All right. So, um, I hope ESG is incorporated into our internet because I don't know what just happened. But thank you so much, Ikena, for that session. Please let's drop what we learned from the session. I've been able to learn that ESG must be woman-centered, and ESG will fail if we don't have empathy and carry people along while building. So thank you so much for being right on time. And we'll just take questions in the chat. We'll attend to those. You could just attend to those questions in the chat so we can proceed with the session. But let's keep dropping our questions for Akena, and let's keep dropping our appreciations in the chat. Also, your session reminds me of our platform, and I'm just going to say it right now. If you're on this call and you've not downloaded our Apple platform, you don't have your Apple ID right now, I really don't know. You are very wrong. So tell me, please, you could just help me drop the Apple platform. Let's sign up on the Apple platform, get your Apple ID, use the platform, explore it, use it to report problems. As you've heard that ESG, is human-centered. We can only solve sustainability issues when we all are involved in this. And the Eco platform is a platform that helps everyone to be able to report data on different sustainability problems from different locations where you are, and we can collaboratively solve these problems. So please, if you are here to get your Apple ID, just sign up using the link in the chat. Thank you, Temi, for dropping it. So thank you so much, Ikena. I'll be sharing my screen right now so we can invite our second speaker. She's already on the call. But you could just stay on the call to respond to any questions we have for you in the chat. Thank you so much for that amazing session. So let me just share my screen. Okay. Can we please confirm that you can see my screen? Can we see my screen? Just send me an emoji if you can see my screen, please.
Yes, we can. Yes, we
All right, thank you. All right, so I'll be inviting Freda from Muyambo. I'm going to just take her bow again. She's the founder and STEM career ambassador and an award-winning STEM career ambassador, African food scholar, and founder of Hulu Consulting Limited. She's on a mission to help organizations, professionals, and entrepreneurs enhance African growth efforts through technological solutions. She's trained as an electrical engineer and strategic program and project management expert. She has 20 years of international experience in Australia, UK, and Africa. She has a background in empathetic leadership, coaching, and successfully managing multi-million dollar public and privately financed capital programs and donor-funded international development projects. She has co-authored 2 internationally published books, The Science of Spice and Black Phone, and she's an advocate for equality in energy access, closing the gender gap in agriculture, and preserving African food waste. All right, so I want us to send in our sounding applause. And while we welcome Freda, send in your emoji. I want you to show your excitement while I welcome Freda Pam. So, Freda, I want to confirm you're on the call and you're able to unmute yourself to proceed with
Hi.
your presentation.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm here. Hi, everyone. Yeah. Shall I jump right in? Okay.
Yes,
All right.
please. So I'll be sharing your slides
Oh,
right
thank
away.
you so much. Thank you very much. Yeah, so I'm really happy to be here. Sorry I couldn't make it at my slotted time due to some serious constraints, but we're here and we can talk about it in the next 30 minutes. Yeah, but I guess whilst Mercy is getting the slides up, I'll just give you a quick intro on Hulu Consulting and myself. I'm joining you today from Harare in Zimbabwe, and I am, shall I say, a Pan-African trotter. So over the past 8 years, I have, moved from Lagos, Nigeria to Nairobi and Kenya, and each of those cities have been amazingly fun and impactful to my life. But yes, I'm here to talk to you today about human-centered design. If we could jump onto the next slide, so I can give you a brief overview about Hulu Consulting. We're an organization that focuses on three main streams, which is renewable energy and agriculture, how to implement productive solar solutions in agriculture. And we do a lot of training and development. So we're a multi-industry project consultancy. We cover things like risk and bid management training, digital transformation, and entrepreneurship. We also offer monitoring and evaluation services, organizational consultancy services, and project management consultancy services. So a whole bunch of things. But yeah, let me introduce myself in a nutshell. If you were to see my life as a blob, this would be me. I am an entrepreneur. I have, in each country I've lived in, managed to set up some kind of entity and offer something new into the space I have lived in. I'm an electrical that's interesting. I'll get to that. I'm an electrical engineer. I studied my master's in construction economics and management. But I've also done other things. I'm married. Yes, break hearts. I'm not saying whether it is inflicted or whether it's on the receiving side, but these are examples of some of the unplanned things that we go through in life. But I am also a mother of four. I am clocking about 20 years in my career. I'm 40 something, lived and worked in 5 countries, and so on and so forth. But somebody said Hulu meant all in Amharic. Hulu is actually, to me, it means sun there's a language called Ga in Ghana, which is my father's language. So it means sun. So in thinking about the company I wanted to create, I wanted to give it a lot of meaning. So, the sun is very important to us. But unintended and unplanned result of calling my company Hulu Consulting is that all the Hulu streaming media, that streaming company from the US want to connect with me. So they all do, which is interesting. And I get updates from all Hulu employees. So that's a funny one. But yeah, oh yeah, next slide. If I was to show you what my life looks like as both a plan and unplanned design, there would be a timeline, and within those timelines, there would be certain events. Some events I've planned for, and I think I'm probably a bit biased here in showing you all the planned for events, you know. But there are some events that are unplanned, and I think this is important in carrying out whatever endeavor you do, because there are always planned and unplanned results or consequences of what we do. Planned and unplanned strategies, and sometimes we don't know it all at the beginning, but as we experience following the life cycle of an initiative, we find that there are also emergent strategies. So let's jump into the next slide. Yeah, learning outcomes. Well, we're going to go through very quickly defining design thinking, because the theme is human-centered design, and I thank Ikena for going through a lot of the definitions of ESG. You know, some of that he has covered, so I can skip right through. But we're going to go through understanding why design thinking is important. And then jump right into what it looks like in practice, you know, not in the office, not on charts, not on project plans, you know, but what it looks like in the real world. And then I'll give a brief intro into systems thinking. These are all very big topics that we can spend years talking about, but we're just going to go through a dip in the ocean, so to speak. Next slide, please. So, divine thinking. And as Kina touched on, it's a 5-stage process where we empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this. We'll skip through to the next slide and possibly the next one. Yeah, so this is just, it's a process. Like, this is not a one-time thing. It's a thing that is continuous to infinity, guys. There is no beginning to end for this. You start at one point, you make an improvement, you get feedback, and you continually improve. I mean, hands up for how many iOS updates you keep seeing. There is no end to it. Next slide. But yes, I want to jump right into why human-centered design is important. Now, the picture that you can see is actually a cartoonization of a real photograph I took of my husband's cousin's wife when we visited in the village quite recently, in fact. And the situation that we met was these guys live on a tea plantation as employees of a tea plantation company, and they had no electricity for 2 months straight. So here she was cooking in their outdoor kitchen, which is a hut, and she was using firewood to cook. And the only reason why there was light in there was because we actually traveled with a flashlight, with a solar flashlight, so we lit it up for her. But you know, I found this whole vision quite remarkable because she's cooking in the dark, cell phone, mobile phone in her left hand. So with some access to technology and, the proliferation of mobile phone communications in Africa has been nothing short of a miracle. It has been so impactful. But, she's connected somehow, but still left in the dark. And as someone who likes talking about African foodways and cookery and our culture, this made me think of what sort of recipe would she have had to write, gather firewood, light up the fire. She could only cook 2 courses because it's not like a big 4-burner stove, She cooked sadza, which to my Nigerian friends out there, it's like, some people call it pap, but it's more like, let's say pounded yam made of maize, just cooking it over the fire, and some chicken. Now, while she's doing this, it took many hours. It was in the dark. Imagine if our light wasn't there. And she was inhaling a lot of smoke because, yeah, the door's open, but it's still an enclosed space. And this really pained me because it made me realize the impact on human health, um, which I knew about. Early in my career, I needed meaning on why we need to keep the lights on. And there's a real direct impact on human health, but there's also a direct on education when we keep the lights on for children. And beyond that, the impact on all the work that electrical appliances can do that our cousin's wife doesn't have to do for ours. Okay, so this is, oh, somebody says they can't hear me. Can others hear me? Is it my network? Okay, yeah, it might be your network. So let me continue. So when it comes to human-centeredness, if we design the world with the most vulnerable people in mind, we actually make the world a better place. Okay, so if let's jump to the next slide. Yeah, and let's look at just the evolution of cooking that happened in the West over the past 150 years. Okay, early 1900s, even late 1800s, it was a yeah, wood-fired stove, and you can see over the process of a long time, this technology changed. And if you think about the fact that in Africa's most remotest parts, the largest population of Africa is rural, we're still gathering firewood to cook and inhale smoke. And the Africa challenge is, whilst the West had 150 years to just evolve, when you think about things like Vision 2030, we have to think about how we're going to compress that now I said in 6 years, but we're in 2026 now. So we're talking about 4 years. And so Africa is going through a very, very rapid change. I mean, you may think of us being left behind, but we are rapidly creating new and different technologies that then the West will never need, but we will need it because it's relevant to us. So as we think about how to improve the world for the most vulnerable, we consider whether is it going to be affordable for everyone or the elite few, which is something that the West went through. They went through it. Will it be easy to maintain and access? And how long will it take until the end of its life? All right, because not everything lasts, but we need to think about that, the operational life cycle of whatever technology we introduce. So can we jump to the next slide? So guys, that was all to say in everything you do, guys. Let's think about the pain points that are around us. Let's think about how, in that situation, somebody in a wheelchair would never be able to cook like that, without a lot of pain. We're so resilient. We're actually living our lives, but yeah. Okay, so, but when it comes to, I'm just going to touch a little bit on project management because that was a huge part of my career. And that was the framework we used when it came to every transformative change that we introduced. And I still use it today. I don't know what our audience is made up of, but I've had a very big entrepreneurial life the past 10 years, and I still use those principles in my businesses because every new business, and if you're an entrepreneur, you are an innovator, right? Every new business is a new innovation that you're introducing. So can we jump to the next slide? So yes, constraints. Now I'm not going to jump into the ABCD of what project management is, because that's a huge topic in itself. But what I want to talk about are the constraints that they say that all projects trade the triple constraints of time, cost, and quality. We're always under the pump. And these three entities are what we actually manage within a defined scope of a project and within a defined tolerance for risk, actually. Can we risk delaying something for a year, for example? What will be the impact? So innovators, businesses and their leaders actually experience similar constraints. And if we could jump to the next slide, I will explain that a little bit. Um, yeah, so you may or may not have come across this project management triangle, which is another depiction of the triple constraint. Some people call it the iron triangle. And why I'm mentioning this will come to light in the next few slides. If we could skip through. Yeah, okay, we can skip through the knowledge areas, such a big topic, but I want to give you an example of the constraints that actually revolutionized AI in recent years. Now, we can just skip through the slides, but DeepSeek and OpenAI, like OpenAI has a you know, I don't know, unlimited budget, um, and unlimited access to the microchips, um, and the powers that be that were supporting the entities like OpenAI were actually trying to prevent chips from going, to places like China if we skip through. So, companies like DeepSeek faced a constraint. They had fewer chips, they had less money, if we can skip through. Um, they also had to withstand trade bans. Yeah, so there was all of this going on. But here's what we all know what they achieved in spite of that, okay? And it was an incredible innovation because they found new methods to do the same thing that OpenAI was doing. All right, if we can skip through. So yeah, so these constraints that revolutionized AI actually drove innovation. And let me tell you, when I say in Africa we are constrained, just watch out because we are continuously innovating at quite a rapid pace that, may seem like it's normal, but the West and the developed world will never see it. And why is that? Because of human-centered design. I think we can skip through the rest of this example. I think I've touched on that. Oh yeah, there we go. So yeah, but how do we go about things? I mean, we've looked at all the on paper model of ESG, design thinking, and what that should look like. But how do we actually go about doing things? At some point, it is better you can plan for everything, but you're not going to learn the the depth and the extent of the impact you're making until you actually start doing it. All right. So an innovator should know what a framework provides and how to select the methodology to enable the implementation team. It could be a project team or a design team to meet their goals. So you need to consider your SMART goals, the scope, complexity, and needed flexibility as part of determining if a framework or methodology or both are needed. You know, some innovations are very simple. So you may not actually need to go into deep methodologies, you just do them. And you may feel like you're just doing things, but there is always a framework supporting what you're doing. Now, if it is a broader scope initiative you're going through, that's when you need documentation requirements, you know, you use project methodology. Um, but if it's a smaller scope, you know, somebody just needs a clean stove out there, you know, you don't necessarily need to get bogged down with all these things. But when it comes to measuring impact, you want to make sure you just have that tick in the box for afterwards. If we go through the next slide. Yeah, so I want to touch on three frameworks actually that kind of are pretty foundational behind what we do. I borrowed this from my life as a project manager and project methodologies, but I have found that they apply to many areas. Okay, so you have a predictive approach, which are sequential phases, complete in order, you know, like how you would build a traditional building, and I guess how I depicted my life as a planned design, right? Then there's an adaptive approach, which is iterative and incremental. Now, these are ideal for projects that need more innovation, less documentation. Maybe there's a lot of ambiguity, you don't know what to expect. So you adapt as you go. And then, of course, there's a hybrid, which uses a combination of both of these, but not in the same way. You know, you can create a traditional project plan, and within it, just allow that flexibility to incorporate iterative development cycles to capture stakeholder feedback. Because, you know, even if you think about a simple product that you launch, you never know how good it is until you get customer feedback, and you never know how good it could be until you get customer feedback. Get that customer feedback and use it in the loop of your product development. Next slide. Yeah, so I mean, this is borrowed from the project life cycle, but you can see a similar theme to design thinking. Something is initiated based on a need. You start to plan, you start to implement. Monitoring and controlling is important because that is how you improve. And when it comes to an actual project or a product, you reach the end of some sort, and then that product goes into operation. It starts a different life cycle of operation and maintenance, and it has a lifespan. So for everything you introduce, you have to think about the end of life. You know, sometimes we think about solar farms and we don't think about how to maintain that. It needs dusting to be efficient, you know. So when you plan things, you need to think about all those costs, operational of throughout the operational life, and then the end of life when it has met its useful come to its useful end of time, and what you do with it afterwards. So these are things that you have to think about beyond the good that it's doing. We can skip to the next slide. Yeah, so these next few slides are just examples of what methodologies or frameworks you can take. So I'm not going to dwell too much on them. If you could skip, but you can be agile, that's being flexible. And this is an example of mostly in, you know, like software development where you have sprints, you launch, you sprint, you launch. So, you know, you go through different life cycles. Next slide. Oh yeah, lean is another methodology that applies to both process and frameworks. Okay, you identify value, map the value stream, create a flow, establish a pool, and then you improve continuously. So like I said at the beginning, there's never really an end to these things. It's ongoing, like it is ongoing to infinity. So there is no end to where you can arrive with the products you develop that address human-centered needs to improve the world around us. Next slide. Yeah, I mean, there are many different types of agile methodologies. You can read up on them. We're not going to dwell too much on them, but there's so many resources and there's so much information out there. So whatever you feel applies to what you're doing, just find what works for your project or product that you're developing. Now, I do want to give an example of systems thinking and how you integrate systems from my former life where I used to work for Transport for London. And it was very interesting because I worked for the underground, so powering up trains. What are these agile methodologies? I can come back to that. But yes, working for the trains where we were powering them up was very interesting because we had to constantly integrate 160 years old infrastructure into the modern world, so tunnels that have been there for the longest time, but how do you incorporate new communication systems and signaling to meet the needs of diverse customers at the center of what we were doing. And Transport for London wasn't just about rail. There was also on road, whether it was vehicles, buses, services called Dial a Ride, where people who were, let's say, differently abled, like or wheelchair bound, could still live independently by this service that was offered to them. And when it comes to um, making all of this work, we had to integrate a whole combination of all of these frameworks, um, old world versus new technologies, how to extend the life of infrastructure. That was all very challenging. But regarding building the world centered around the most vulnerable. I mean, this is an example from the built environment, but when it comes back to, let's say, cooking, for example, you could be somebody who maybe are into designing spaces in the home. If you were to think about the most vulnerable, somebody that's differently able, that may be wheelchair bound, what sort of kitchen would you build for them? If you built a kitchen for somebody who was able to walk or they were tall, you would make them disabled in that space. But if you thought about building a kitchen for somebody wheelchair bound, you probably think about um, lowering the height of your counters, making sure there are inserts that can fit somebody's knees, a chair, and in that kind of space. And if you can imagine a world like that, nobody is disabled, right? So this is what we constantly think of. Remember that line, when you think about building the world for the most vulnerable, you make a better world for everyone. Um, oh yeah, next slide. I'm clicking my own computer, not knowing that somebody else is controlling it. Yeah, so these are just tools that you can use to go, take something from an idea to reality. Think about the purpose and what pain it addresses. Make a plan. Um, there's a whole myriad of tools you can use out there to actually make your plan efficient. Not everybody needs to establish an office. We're in such an agile world where look, technology is a societal equalizer. We're all connecting here because of a computer and internet. Yeah, but there'll be milestones, and there's always risk that you need to manage, you know. The risk of even, you know, when we think about AI, it's bringing in amazing innovations, but on the other side, it uses a lot of power, creates a lot of heat in, you know, in the world, and can be very disruptive for the communities within which its data centers are built, right? So yeah, yes, differently abled. Yeah, thanks for that comment. But yeah, we need to think about the whole picture, you know, both planned and unplanned results and consequences. Sometimes we get results that we never intended that are actually good, and it's good to measure these. But there are also times when we get consequences we didn't plan for, but we need to find a way to improve upon this. So yeah, if we skip to the next slide, yeah, that brings me to the end of this very brief but very, very big and relevant topic. And it was just an aim to give you a gist of taking a look outside of yourself and just outside of your office and looking out there in the world, to address the world's needs and pain points. But if we skip to the last slide, you know, feel free to reach out to us, guys. We are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You can email us if you have any questions. Yeah, but that brings me just to the end of my presentation. And maybe if I can dive into questions, I think somebody asked about the different agile methodologies. So maybe if we can go to back a few slides. So agile simply means, okay, that one. It simply means, you know, you're taking a flexible approach, and this alone is a very, very big topic in both project management and process management, right? So, you know, you have methodologies like Scrum, Kanban, Lean methodologies, XP, which really is applicable to programming, Crystal. Yeah, so these are many, many different methodologies, but they all fall within a framework, the Agile framework, which means you're not just doing things in isolation, you're responding to the effects of what you're doing. Yeah. So I hope that answered your question. I couldn't go into the methodologies because that in itself is a whole massive topic. You know, we wanted to just keep focused on human-centered design, but I was just giving you the gist of the tools you could use to manage that and manage them well. Sorry. Okay, I thought somebody said something. Yeah, so I hope, Dalhat, I hope that answered your question just a little bit. Yeah, I think I saw quite a few things pop into the chat. Yeah, but if anyone has any questions, please jump right in. But thank you so much for
Yeah, thank you so much, Freda, for that insightful session, and thank you for sticking to time. Can you hear me? Am I audible? All right, thank you for sticking to the time. So please let's drop her appreciation for Freda. Send in your appreciation through your emojis, your chats. Let's appreciate her. Something that stood out for me that I wrote down was building the world for the most vulnerable makes the world a better place. So even when we are designing, we want to think of everyone, literally, especially the most vulnerable, while we are designing anything. And that's something I'm taking from this session. So I wanted to drop one key lesson that you're taking from this session. I want you to drop it in the chat. Yeah, let's keep it coming. I can see there are a lot of chats, but I can see a lot of thank you. There are a lot of systems building that are needed in our development of SDG and ESG. Thank you, Tammy. All right, so let's drop our questions for Ikena and Freda. They will attend to the questions in the chat session. So just drop your questions for them. You attend to it. So let me just get back to our agenda for today. Let me share my screen. Okay, so yeah, let's do it. All right, so right now we're going to be doing something interesting. I want us all to post on LinkedIn. I want to believe if you are here, you are on LinkedIn and even on other social medias like Instagram and TikTok. So I want you to share what you have learned about ESG and how Tech for Good Africa can do more about it in your country. So I want you to share what you've learned about ESG, what you've learned so far in different thematic areas we have been covering. And I want you to tag us on all our social medias. If you're sharing on LinkedIn, tag us on LinkedIn. If you're sharing on Instagram or TikTok, I want you to all do that immediately after this session. And even if you can do it right now, please go ahead and do it. All right. So no, just something I needed to say. So for your questions and answers, please drop this in the chat session. Our speakers will respond to those questions in the chat session. And if there's need to respond to any verbally, would give them that chance. But before while we proceed, I want us to go to our next agenda for today, which is talking about our incubator session. I'm sure we are aware that there's going to be an incubator program after this ESG 2.0 bootcamp because we've mentioned it, but today we want to also mention it again to you. But I'll be inviting my team member Temi to talk about this. So Temi, are you on the call? Are you on the call right now to talk about
Yes,
the
I
incubator?
am.
All right, please
Can
go
I go
ahead.
ahead?
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you. Mimi, we can't hear you. You're not audible.
Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes, you're very audible now.
All right. So saying thank you to our speakers for the impactful sessions. And I'm sure our participants have learned one or two to ensure that they are implementing better design structures for whatever projects they are working on for the capstone project. So, like we stated at the beginning of ESG 2.0 Bootcamp, we are taking a different dynamics this year, and it's very beautiful. And we are looking to see the great things that we can achieve from this, which is the Greens Leaders Incubators Program. I would want to see our applause in the chat room. It is actually a big thing. If you are excited, I am excited because right now we are looking at seeing some of these projects come to life and not just stay on paper. And this is one of the beauty of Tech for Good Africa, right? We do not want to stay at the place of just advocating for solutions to these problems that we are facing, but we want to see actual work being done to show that something good is happening. And so this is why the Greens Leader Incubators program was embedded in ESG in Tech 2.0 Bootcamp, right? And so we are going to be putting out our form today to collect submissions for this project. So I'm just going to be giving a brief overview of what it entails and some of the requirements that are needed for these projects to qualify to join the incubators program, right? And just a sneak peek. So for our final presentation, we'll be selecting 3 projects from the incubators program, the capstone project rather. So we'll be picking the best 3 projects, the capstone projects that we'll be getting from the incubators program. And I'm going to be encouraging you all to put in the work to ensure that your projects stand a chance to be incubated by Tech for Good Africa, and ensure that you see these challenges that you have pointed out in these locations across Africa being, incubated. So, right, who are the people that are eligible to participate? I'm sure we all know about our partnership with the A4S, and Tech for Good Africa is looking to organize an event later on this year, which is also going to serve as a continuation of this incubator. We would be needing participants to follow these strict rules to ensure that their project qualifies to join the incubators program. So participants must clearly define an ESG problem. So whatever problem it is that you're trying to solve has to be ESG structured, has to influence the driving conversations around ESG. It has to be a technology embedded solution. Yes, there has to be a prototype or serious execution plan. Some of the issues that we've been experiencing in Africa, particularly developing countries, even all over the world, is how feasible are some of these initiatives that are being put out there. We must see that this problem or this solution that you're outlining has a clear-cut direction to bringing about change, right? We do not want to stay at the place of just advocating and going around the same words, the same terms. Someone even highlighted that as the SDG goals now is looking like a slogan, a catchphrase to just make people excited, and that is not what we are looking at for projects that will be incubated into this program. It has to have a serious execution plan. And like we've been discussing since the beginning of this boot camp, impact is important, and measurable impact is even more important. These projects should consist of that logic that preaches, measurable impact. And it has to be within the 3 to 6 month execution time frame. Deadlines for these projects or submission or collection of these projects is going to be on the 28th of March. And that is in a month's time. So I would advise you get to work right on, and we'll be sending the form to the group chats now, to the chat room now, so you can start applying for your project to be incubated. So now, what are the things that you stand to gain from joining this bootcamp, this incubators program rather? So selected teams are going to receive technical and ESG advisory. So for ESG in Tech 2.0, we are currently, we have developed a framework to ensure that we have a faculty that is going to guide the development of these projects to execution. And so these are the benefits you are going to be enjoying. You're going to be having hands-on experience from professionals in this field, mentorship and strategic guidance, ecosystem and partnership access. This is very important because we are building an ecosystem. If you know very well about Tech for Good Africa, it's an ecosystem. We have the Eco Africa, we have Tech for Good Africa, we have the African Training Leadership Academy, we have the Strategic Leadership Forum. So it's a whole ecosystem. And this is also important in ensuring we connect with the right minds, the right networks, the right resources to bring this project to life. And so we'd also be getting pilot validation support for these projects, and lastly, investor visibility. So these are some of the benefits that these teams are going to receive. So we are hopeful that by the end of this program, the incubators program, then you would get access to potential funding to drive your projects even bigger and on a much larger scale. So the application process is simple. All you need to do is complete the Green Leaders Incubators form, and then we're going to have a panel review it and score it, and then people that have been shortlisted will be notified and then onboarded into the incubators program. So this is just a brief of what the incubators program is all about. Again, 3 slots are going to be going to the top 3 capstone projects from this bootcamp. So if I was you, I would be pushing my team members to ensure that we are cooking something big, something that will change the narratives concerning Africa, something that is going to bring development that we've been vying for, right? And so with this, I want us to join us, build with us, and lead with us. Thank you very much. Over to you now, Messi. I hope I communicated that well.
Yes, you did. Thank you so much, Temi. Temi has done justice to explaining the Green Incubator Program. I'm actually very excited about this program, and it's what makes this ESG Bootcamp 2.0 different. So just like he has said, let's take note of everything he has said, and I'm sure with everything we are planning and with the partnerships we have, we are going to get mentorship, advisory, and we're even going to be piloting this project with our Echo platform. So we definitely have a lot in store for you. So I just want you also take note of that. We'll be sending the registration form for the incubator program. So once you get the form, just ensure that you do the needful. All right. So thank you, Temi, for that. I just want to go through the chat session because we're actually coming to the end of today's session. And I want us to fill our attendance form. Temi, please, could you help me drop the attendance form? Like I said earlier, please let's also fill the feedback form. We've not been filling the feedback form. We're going to share a feedback immediately after the session. Let's fill the feedback form and upload your professional picture, because your professional picture will be used for the photo collage of this program. So that's why we put in a session there for you to upload your professional picture. So make sure you fill the feedback form. Also, earlier on during the session, I just want to retrace. I mentioned about our upcoming program happening here in Nigeria, Lagos, the Project Mixer. So if you're a project manager or you're an aspiring project manager, a product manager, a program manager, this event is for you. We have collaborated with the PM Tribe to organize this event on how ESG can be incorporated in project management. So do well to watch out for the links. We'll be passing across these links even on WhatsApp and on emails to you. So make sure you register for the event. So I just want to ask if there are any questions, and if, or let me just check if there are any questions that we need to take or that has not been answered yet before we close the session. Okay, I can see a question from Obed. Please, do we have ESG-based research development initiative in Nigeria? Also, please, can we navigate people who are women in the research field work for insight and intelligence? Okay, has this been answered? What I thought about. Okay. So if you still have any questions, just drop them so I can see the ones that have not been answered, because I can see there are a lot of chats already. But I want to believe that we've all gotten value from this session. And we don't want to keep you beyond 1 p.m. So please, let's fill the attendance form. It has been dropped. So let's fill the attendance form and let's fill the feedback form. We'll be getting the feedback form immediately after the session. Also, please remember that you'll be having your capstone training tomorrow. Let's make sure that we join this capstone training. It's going to be happening tomorrow by 6 p.m. So we'll also share the updates around this, but let's look out for that so we don't forget. And next week's session also, let's make sure that we drive all our team members in different thematic areas to come so that we can have more people. The more your team members are on these sessions, the easier it will be for you to be able to contribute to your capstone project. So let's make sure that we're able to encourage every of our team members to join next week's session, because looking at the number of people here, I know we can do better for next week's session. All right, so I'll just be calling in the president to give us a closing remark and a closing remark, yeah, before we close the session. So Mr. Samuel, are you still on the call? We'd love you to give us a closing remark for this session today. Thank you. So let's welcome our president, Mr. Samuel Austin. I'm not seeing your emoji. I'm not seeing anything. Are we still on this call? I'm not seeing our reactions. I'm not seeing our emojis at all. All right. Thank you, Harafat. The attendance form is the attendance form. Okay, just look out for the attendance form. If it's not, it will be shared in the chat in your WhatsApp groups as well. Just look out for the attendance and the feedback form. So I don't know if our president is still on the call. Should
I'm here, Messi. Hi.
Okay, thank you. So please give us a closing remark.
See, and it sounds like you are also in a church or something. There's a huge background noise happening on there with you guys. But thanks everyone. 33 people on the call. If you know me, I'm really not about numbers, but again, I know that we had a huge amount of number of people start this session, but I want to say thank you to each and every one of you that's still staying on. I can't turn my video on, so please pardon me. It's been a very long week for myself, but I know for you guys as well, for the 4 weeks, you have not just even learned about ESG tech, you have designed responsibility. You've all been working. Week 1, we challenge you to think. Week 2, we challenge you to reshape how you measure. Week 3, we'll push you to align impact with innovation, which some of you are already working on your capstone project. Week 4, we demanded that you design systems, not just solution. And design is not decoration. I'm saying this because many Many times when we talk to people about design, they think it's decoration. It's not decoration. Design is decision. Architecture is how you make your decisions. So when you design a product, you're deciding who benefits, you're deciding who is excluded, what is optimized, what is ignored, what future becomes normal. So ESG in Tech 2.0 has been about embedding this measurable, sustainable governance, intelligence, and even social accountability into our DNA of technology. And you can see our speakers today have done that. So also want to just take this moment to say thank you to our two speakers. I came here to just give us those insight. I learned a lot as well myself. And thank you so much. And all these things you're learning from the boot camp, don't take them as for granted, right? Take them very, very importantly. So just to speak more to just more to design, if you build a software without environmental logic, what you're doing is that you start scaling more waste and you think that that's not part of it. If you deploy maybe an AI without governance logic, you're scaling things like bias. And so I always wonder what is really scaling when we do technology. And if you innovate without social logic, maybe you're not thinking about people. What you'll be doing there is you'll be scaling inequality. So this program has not been about just information, but really is about internal transformation of your mind. And I know from today, you can now understand how to map ESG risk into product architecture. You're looking at what is going beyond just the normal words of ESG and looking at how ESG is more of a system. And so please, as you go on your capstone project, you must just make sure you're doing some exciting things on there. We're really looking forward to it. If you have an idea or a solution, please don't hesitate to sign up to the incubator program. It's going to be fascinating. We're having some exciting plan for that. And just to carry this forward, you know me, I always drop some words. Please measure what matters, design for consequences, and lead with a structured responsibility. The future of tech in Africa will not be shaped by some of the fastest builders. It will be shaped by those that are really responsible, those that are really taking account of what is really around us. And I know that um, you're now accountable to that standard. If you're already in week 4 and you've been following us, I believe that you are now accountable. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Messi, for facilitating today. Thank you for the tech. Thank you to the Tech for Good Africa team. Thank you to all the participants that are still on this journey of a boot camp. Your boots are getting properly structured. I think the final thing we can do is take a picture. I love how today we ended very well on time. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Let's take a picture and we'll end today.
Thank you.
So if you can just turn on your camera, this is looking like. Let me remove Messi as a spotlight. Okay, how many cameras are on now? Obed, is your smile for me? It's a smile for me. Let's say you have to. All right. Okay, let me put my video on too. One has to lead by example. Um, right, are we ready?
Yes.
I love how Agogo is washing her hair while she's taking ESG in Tech 2.0. Brilliant. That's I love that. All right, so guys, are we ready? We'll take this picture in. Are you ready? You have to put smiles, and I think I said this week I was going to do it. Is it a peace sign or a thumbs up? I don't know which one I was going to do this week. Peace sign, thumbs up. You know what? I'm just going to do a thumbs up. Are we all ready? So in 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Thanks, everybody. God bless you. Thanks, Frida. Thanks,
Have a
EK.
very nice time. Bye-bye.
Thank you, leaders. Thank you so much. See you guys next week. See y'all.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week. Yeah, bye.
Rush what takes this time. I learned discipline is freedom. Boundaries are self-respect. I don't fight every invitation. Some things don't deserve respect. If I break, I rebuild quiet. If I fall, I stand wiser. I don't rush the healing process. I honor the time it requires. I don't need to prove I'm unshaken. I just need to remain alive. The world can pull me in any direction. My response stays. I don't choose the pressure. I choose how I respond. I don't control whatever. I decide how long I stand in the storm. I don't need the road to bend for me. I bend myself and move along like it touch me anyway. I choose how I respond. I choose to move away.